Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, and get ready. This is going to be a marathon. I have the Klemperer box, all 95 CDs worth of it, and we're going to go through them all. Well, I mean quickly, because in order to save time and space, as you know, right here, I have the other Klemperer boxes, or at least a lot of them. That is the smaller, normal stuff. I mean, if I can get one out of here, I can show it to you. There we go. It's coming. It's coming. It's got it. There. See? We've been doing these separately to save time doing this because we knew it was coming. So, we'll do our best. Here it is. And it's on 95 CDs. And it's like a lot of CDs. And this is one of two. There's going to be a vocal music box as well. Operas and other things. So let's just take its little lid off. It has one of these little lid things here. You only get, these labels, they're issuing these things, but you can see how they're trying to do it for less and less money. They're getting cheaper and cheaper and increasingly abstemious with extras like notes and books and things. Like you get this little bookie, and the bookie doesn't have a track list in it. It just has composers and work lists in the back, which is not as helpful as a complete track list and the deluxe book type treatment that we get from Sony and other labels. We'll see if Sony still does them. Because, by the way, I just heard that they are doing the Ormandy Columbia stereos, at least the Columbias, I don't know about RCA, in 2 big boxes. So wait for that. Anyway, so here's this. You get a booklet. Whoopee-doo. And after we get the booklet, we're going through the discs. Now, this consists of his Philharmonia recordings, the monos and stereos, plus the earlier stuff that they had access to from like the 1920s, early stuff. And that's quite interesting, actually. I mean, not for repertoire, all of which he redid, but here's my first pile of them. Oh, wow. I have to figure out how I'm going to organize this. CD 19, here's the first 20 discs. We'd get up to the Philharmonia rather quickly. But let's start with these early ones because they are interesting. The very first disc sort of is a prelude to what was to come because you get the Academic Festival Overture, Brahms first, the prelude to Tristan and Isolde, and Salome's Dance of the Seven Veils. It's like Klemperer in a nutshell. But anyway, this is with members of the Staatskapelle Berlin and the orchestra of the Staatskapelle Berlin, whatever the difference is. And these were recorded in 1927 and 1928, and at least they're electrical recordings. Thank God. The sound is rather dim, but you can tell, even then, his Brahms, for example, was really, really powerful. It's a very powerful, majestic Brahms one, and it's not, unlike what we've been told, all that different from what came later. He didn't get slower and slower and slower. He did in the last 10 years of his life or so. He started to slow down, but he was always, at least in Brahms first, powerful and granitic. That was the word, granitic. So the graniticism, the graniticalliciousness was there from the very start. That's disc 1. We got to move faster. Disc 2 has Auber's Fra Diavolo, Offenbach's La Belle Helene, 2 Klemperer classics, right, yeah. And Strauss's Till Eulenspiegel and Don Juan with the same crew. And, he was never a huge fan of Richard Strauss, actually, but he plays those pieces quite well. The Don Juan is unbelievably unsentimental. He gets through it in less than 16 minutes, which is really, really fast. Okay, Mozart. We get scads of Mozart, and now we're with the Philharmonia. We're already with the Philharmonia. Now, we've talked about Klemperer's Mozart. His Mozart was absolutely marvelous. It's well worth having. This is Symphonies 29 and 41. These are the monos. These are in chronological order, more or less. So these are 1954, the earlier ones. But his Mozart was always wonderful. The emphasis was always there on woodwind parts and sculpted bass lines and taking quick music, not too quick, and slow music, quicker than we normally would expect, in a very unsentimental way. That was his style, and it was what it was. Then we have Hindemith, Nobilissima Visioni, the Brahms Haydn Variations, and Hindemith's Horn Concerto. Previously unreleased track 14, take 3. It's just a piece of the Hindemith Horn Concerto with Dennis Brain, which nobody liked, not even Dennis Brain. And then we've got Bach suites, the 4 orchestral suites, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. These are the earlier mono ones also from 1954 in Kingsway Hall. And, all of this stuff is worth listening to. If you like Klemperer, you're going to like Klemperer. These, by the way, are original jacket releases, more or less. Obviously, the Hindemith Take 3 was not an original jacket release, so we have to be a little bit careful. Beethoven, Leonore 1, 2, Fidelio 3. His Beethoven is always extraordinary. Mono, stereo, it doesn't matter. The sound is really good. The performances are splendid. They are classics. Beethoven Eroica. This is the mono one, yes. I wish they tell you. Yes, they do tell you. This is the mono. And this is the seventh in stereo from 56. Yeah, there we go. So there's Beethoven, lots of Beethoven. Oh, I remember this. I had this. Oh, I had the LP. Wow. This is the mono Beethoven fifth. Mozart and Handel. Handel Concerto Grosso in A minor, arranged by Schoenberg. Wasn't that interesting? And Eine kleine Nachtmusik. These are all stereos. Looks like that's stereo. From there, let's see, what's this stuff? We have some mono and some stereo here. Or is it all stereo? Looks like it's all stereo. More Mozart and the Beethoven Grosse Fuga. He does a great Grosse Fuga, even though everyone hates it. Well, no, everyone doesn't hate it. I just think it's difficult. Okay, Mozart, Hofner, the Abduction from the Seraglio Overture, the Linz Symphonies. So it's the Hofners and the Linzes. And these are from 1960, so this is all stereo. I'm not going to worry about stereo or mono. Some things he did twice in stereo and mono, they're all here. So we will just talk about that. Mozart, more Mozart, 38, 39. Handel. And does it say Handel? No, it says Mozart. I don't know what I was reading. Mozart Symphonies 25 and 40. I mean, I talked about that's this box here, over there, right there is the Mozart box. So we discussed that. Brahms 2 with the Tragic Overture. Brahms 1. Brahms 4. And Brahms 3 with the Academic Festival. It's classic. I mean, Brahms is some of the greatest Brahms ever in the history of humanity. So that's the first 19. See how quickly we can get through it? Because we did a little advanced warming up stuff. That's really, I think that was really a smart thing to do, to be honest with you, because it's saving us much time. Let's see here. Oh, let me get more of these. Next stack. Okay. More Beethoven. I mean, do we have to go through the Beethoven? Beethoven. Now, remember, there's a lot more Klemperer stuff as I go through this that was released because there were live recordings on Testament, and then there was all that German radio stuff. None of that's here, because those German radio recordings are not owned by EMI or Warner. They were just licensed at the time, and now they have delicensed, or at least they're back to whatever graveyard they came from, and so we don't get those things. These like cardboard things, and they come with the CDs kind of sticking out. There, jiggling there. Let's see, Beethoven incidental music to Egmont and other things, and you do get. Well, here we have that live performance of
the ninth.
Yes, they gave it to us. Isn't that nice of them? It's wonderful, which is very exciting. That was rumored to be even better than the studio one. It's actually just wonderful. Is this the live one? Wait a minute, I want to make sure. Yes, that's the live one. The other one was coupled to the Egmont music, right? Yes, Egmont music. Okay, but it was on 2 discs originally. And so they put it on 2 CDs. That's silly. They really ought to just, not do that. But they did, because they can sell more discs that way. So more Beethoven. The Beethoven is like just sui generis and absolutely amazing. So there you go. I think that covers most of the Beethoven. We didn't really talk about it much, did we? But I've done it so many times. And you know how necessary it is to hear Klemperer's Beethoven. I know some of you youngsters, you youngins, and the more refractory old uns who are like, it's not period instruments. It's so slow. It's so sluggish. It's so heavy. Bullshit. Use your ears. Listen to all the things that you hear in it that you don't hear in those faster period instrument performances. Klemperer is more detailed, more careful in bringing out inner voices. You hear more of the bass. You hear more of everything in his performances than you do in a typical period instrument performance. And that's a fact. Fact, my friends. Okay, Haydn. His Haydn is marvelous except for the very late ones. The ones that were from like, let's see, what's the date here? 1960, so we're in good shape. This is 98 and 101. When he got to, like after 1967 or so, his last 5 years or so, things got a little bit weird. Mendelssohn, the Scottish Symphony, which was then called the Scotch, and the Hebrides Overture. Okay, Scotch was always a little weird. He could have used some more Scotch doing the Scotch. Midsummer Night's Dream, glorious. One of the great ones, fabulous. The overture is to die for. And it's not slow. 12 minutes and 57 seconds. That's the time. Mendelssohn, Italian, and Schumann, fourth. Glorious. Absolutely glorious. Totally fabulous. Okay, conducting Wagner. He was a great Wagner conductor. We know that. And these are like fabulous Wagner things. Yes, we love his Wagner. And Klemperer conducts more Wagner. That wasn't me. Look, that's what it's called. Klemperer conducts more Wagner. Isn't that marvelous? I mean, these were all coupled together on like 2 CDs, but now they're back on 3. Richard Strauss. Here's Twill, Eulenspiegel, Don Juan, and the Dance of the Seven Veils again. And they haven't slowed down very much. They haven't slowed down at all. Well, they have slowed down a little bit. Just a little. He gets through Don Juan in 17 minutes, so it's a minute longer, a minute and a bit. And Till Eulenspiegel is still very quick, 15 minutes. And the Salome is exactly the same, 9 minutes and 2 seconds. Salome can only hoochie coochie at a certain speed, evidently. Oh, this is great. Overtures. These romantic German overtures. This is such a great record. Weber, Humperdinck, Gluck, and Cherubini. And Klemperer's announcement. He makes an announcement. Hi, I'm making an announcement. So there you go. Publication of the recording was originally withheld due to the presence of background noise picked up by the microphones. The noise was removed by computer for the CD issue. How nice. So you get the Cherubini Anacreon. Now, where are we? CD 37. We're making lots and lots and lots of progress here. This is the next pile. I'm doing these in piles. So this pile, let me see how I do this so that I make sure I don't mess this up. That's the booklet. I have to keep these separately or I'm going to put them all back in like, reverse order. It was 20 and that's 37. Okay, so that goes there. And this goes here. All right. So there's pile 1 through 37. Then we have more Mozart. The horn concertos with Alan Civil, which I couldn't care less about because Mozart's horn concertos are surpassingly uninteresting. I know some of you object to that characterization, but I'm standing by it. Schumann, piano concerto, and the Liszt concerto with Annie Fisher. Jed does not particularly care for these performances, and I can understand it. I like them. I think they're fine, but they're like nobody's first choices. But if you follow Annie Fisher, follow Klemperer, you're going to want to hear them together. Brahms Violin Concerto with Oistrakh. Oh, my God. What is that? Fabulous. Insanely fabulous. The Bach Brandenburgs. Well, these are a little bit iconoclastic, shall we say. There, I think the period instrument people may have a point. Just a little bit more pizzazz would not be unwelcome. Some more Beethoven. We don't need more Beethoven. Okay, Bruckner. The Bruckner, Symphony Number 7. Oh, this is ridiculous. The 7th is on 1 CD, and they put it back on 2 discs for this issue, which is just stupid. Because the coupling is the Siegfried Idyll, which they which they intermediarily stuck on the Wagner discs. But now it's back with Bruckner, and it doesn't make any sense to me. Schubert, Great C Major, absolutely marvelous. Mahler 4, kind of weird. Slow movement's a little odd. The Adagio is quite quick, and the finale has Elizabeth Schwarzkopf, who is the very opposite of what Mahler asks for, which is an innocent, fresh, unaffected expression without a trace of artifice. Well, she was the goddess of artifice, so you gotta settle for that. But she was married to the producer Walter Legg, so. Tchaikovsky, Pathetique, a little heavy-handed and not entirely marvelous. Not terrible, but not great. Klemperer conducts the Threepenny Opera, music by Johann Strauss, and his own Merry Waltz. I like the original cover. I mean, I haven't seen these original jackets like in a billion zillion years. Isn't that cool? Let's see. I mean, Klemperer commissioned, by the way, the Kleine Drei Groschen Musik, which he conducts rather heavy-handedly at this point, but it's fun anyway. Death and Transfiguration and A Great Metamorphosen. Yeah, those are wonderful performances. Absolutely wonderful. Mahler 2. Is this all on one disc? Yes, they put it back all on one disc. I had it on two. When it came out, I had this in a box. So yeah, so not all of it has been decoupled or deboxified or decompressed or whatever they did. It's still nice. Was it recently? Newly remastered from original tapes. Yeah, all this stuff is newly remastered, I should point out. I don't hear a big difference. I really have. That's why I had to check, because, you know, the differences are not substantive. They really aren't. I maybe a fraction here or there, but it really depends on what equipment you play it on more than what they've done to it. So if you have the older stuff, let me straighten myself out here. If you have the older stuff, you're in good shape. You really are. The Wesendonck leader, well, you get some vocal stuff, Tristan and Isolde, Alto Rhapsody, and the wonderful 5-Mahler leader with Christa Ludwig. It's stunning. There is no better version of this, the Wesendonck leader particularly. And the Mahler leader, in case you're curious, Ich bin der Welt abhanden gekommen Mitternacht, das irdische Leben, ich atmet einen Lindenduft und wo die schönen Trompeten blasen. Which actually, I saw Christa Ludwig, you can see Christa Ludwig teach that song in a masterclass on YouTube, where she absolutely destroys the singer who's trying to sing it. She makes mincemeat out of the poor gal, and it's so much fun to watch. Public humiliation in the classical world is just such a cool aspect of it. It really is. Anyway, wait a minute, let me get this done. There we go. Okay, more Mozart. Lots of Mozart. Mozart symphonies all over again. If they were stereo, now they're mono, now they're stereo, and vice versa. See, that's 30, 32, 54, 52, 53, 54. We're making much progress. Stravinsky, Symphony in 3 Movements. Pulcinella Suite. You know, Klemperer was a major Stravinsky conductor in his youth. It's a pity he didn't record it in his youth. These are really a little bit on the heavy side. The symphony's not bad. The Pulcinella Suite, oh, it could really use an injection of something, you know, of stimulant. Tchaik 5, one of the great ones. Astonishing, extraordinary, insanely fabulous. Tchaik 4, not one of the great ones. It's not slow. It really isn't. It's just not hysterical enough. You know, Klemperer was not one to do hysteria. He was a little bit too unsentimental and unflinching for Tchaikovsky. Tchaikovsky, you gotta flinch. I mean, you know, he's just a flinch-worthy composer. So that's that. Schubert's Unfinished in number 5. Fabulous. Fabulous. Berlioz, Symphonie Fantastique. Surprisingly fabulous. Really, really good. I mean, it's marvelous because of all those wonderful forward wind parts and tempos that are not droopy. Not at all, especially in the finale, which will surprise you. Bruckner 4, glorious. Absolutely glorious. With wonderful brass playing going like crazy. More Mozart symphonies. You can never have too many Mozarts. Dvorak's New World. Amazing with those fabulous bass lines in the scherzo. When everyone's going da-da-dum, bum-bum, and you hear the basses go do-da-dum, bum-bum, bum-bum, bum-dum, where no one else lets you hear it. Nobody. It's amazing. Fantastic. Beethoven, the 4 Fidelio overtures. Numbers 1, 2, 3 in Fidelio. So that's nifty. Mozart's Grand Partita. Well, you don't have to emphasize the winds because it's only winds. And wonderful winds. Das Lied von der Erde. And they put it all on one CD. Thank God. This was also originally on 2 CDs. Two LPs, I think, with other stuff. So, yes, great. One of the amazing ones, Christa Ludwig and Fritz Wunderlich. Incredible. Haydn Symphonies, 88 and 104. They're delightful. Mozart Overtures. Yay. Bruckner 6th. Possibly the greatest ever or one of the greatest ever. It's just astonishingly marvelous. And there we go. That's that pile. And we're going to do the last pile. This is the last pile. We're going very, very quickly. More Mozart symphonies, 29 and 33. I mean, do we need that? Yes. Haydn, 100 and 102. 102, one of the great Haydn performances ever, because he plays it like Beethoven. If you want to hear how late Haydn should go, listen to this 102. Just listen to it. You will be dazzled. It's astonishing. Schumann, the Spring Symphony. Is that the only thing that's over here? And the Manfred Overture. When is this from? These are not bad. This is from 65, so it's okay. We're still in the safe zone. Yehudi Menuhin and Klemperer doing the Beethoven Violin Concerto. Not Menuhin's best. Let's not kid ourselves. If we want to hear Klemperer in the Beethoven Concerto, we're kind of stuck with this. And it's not terrible, but, Menuhin did it with Furtwängler, and that was, I think, a little bit more, well, he was in better form, in better shape in those days. Franck, Symphony in D minor, quite surprisingly good. Very Germanic. Is there something else? Oh, yes. Stravinsky. They coupled it with Stravinsky's Petrushka. Now, isn't that a perfect coupling for the Franck? The Petrushka is abominable. I see they kind of snuck it in there. Klemperer never approved it for release. It was very, very late. The orchestra was a catastrophe. It was an absolute mess. The tempos were sluggish. Playing is horrible. It was beyond him at that stage in his career. What's the date on this? Let me just tell you what it was. 67. Really a scandal. Should never have been released. It's a blot on his life. Mahler 9 on 2 CDs. It's a great Mahler 9. Absolutely gripping. The rondo burlesque isn't too fast, but ooh, does it snap and snarl. Kind of like Carol Ancherls does the same thing. It's a wonderful performance. And the adagio is heartrending because it's so stark. Oh my God. It's just bare to the bone. It's raw. It's fabulous. Bruckner 5. No, this is all on one CD. You'd think it would be on like 3 or 4. Actually, the adagio here is not so slow, 16 minutes, but the scherzo is 14. The first movement, the tempos don't look bad, but the playing is sluggish. It just doesn't have the rhythm and the snap it needs, especially in the finale. Mozart Piano Concertos 25 with Barenboim and the Serenade in C minor. The Klemperer-Barenboim relationship is another one of those things that's an acquired taste. And here is the acquired taste in the piano concerti, which I enjoy. I do enjoy them, but again, they are somewhat, I don't know how to describe it. There's a certain lack of impulse between the two of them. It's as if they're kind of having they get along really well. They're having their own communal relationship with Beethoven, but the music itself could just be more brash somehow. But they got along really well. The performances, for what they are quite good. But, they're an acquired taste. Let's put it that way. Mahler 7. Oh, this is the creepy, slow, insanely slow, nutty Mahler 7. I mean, some people love it. Some people think it's great because it's so slow. I think it's a torture. I really do. It's just a torment. Schumann 2 and the Genevieve Overture. These are from 68. It's getting late. It's getting really late. The first movement is like an ordeal of the Schumann. And then there's his last Beethoven 7th and his own, Rameau, what's the Beethoven? Yes, Gavotte with 6 variations orchestrated by Klemperer and Beethoven Prometheus stuff. This is that last Beethoven 7th, the one that's 68, that's so slow. Holy mackerel. It's insanely slow. It's not his best. Schumann 3, the Rhenish, and the Overture to Faust. Well, this Rhenish is just a disaster. This is the performance where he supposedly fell asleep during the sessions and they just played it without him. Then he woke up and said, how did it go? Not well. I wonder if they told him the truth. Bach Orchestral Suites. Again, here they are again. Do we need it? No. Klemperer's own Second Symphony and String Quartet number 7. Klemperer was a lousy composer. Let's face it. His music is absolutely chronically uninteresting and unmemorable. It's not terribly long-winded. At least it's pithy. I'll give him that. He had pith. Bruckner's 9. Oh, not very good either. This is his last period. Haydn Symphonies 99 and 95. These are, I think, quite late, aren't they? Yes, 70 and 71. Oh, my God. But, he kind of woke up for these a little bit. They're not as bad as some of his other late stuff. And then Bruckner 8. Oh, this is a mess. It has his cuts and his crazy things, and we don't want that. That was sort of disappointing. And then we get At the end, Klemperer conducts his own music, 1 and 2. We get Symphony Number 2, a playthrough of the 1962 version. Do we need that? No. Variations for Orchestra. These are playthroughs. And it gave a speech on the occasion of his 75th birthday, and a piece called Recollection, and Scherzo and J'accuse, sung in English, and some alternate versions, and string quartets 3, Symphony Number 4, and Symphony Number 3. Now, this is rather interesting if you're into that sort of thing, but you will hear it's nice of them to include this stuff. Very nice. But the music itself is just not interesting at all, and I think it's no tragedy to say so. I mean, really, at this point, we don't have to be make excuses. And finally, we have here the John Talansky interview historic souvenir bonus, which actually appeared somewhere else in some other Klemperer box or something. I think it did. I don't know. There's so many of these Talansky bonus things that showed up in the Icon series that I've lost track of them all. And Klemperer reminiscences have appeared in various places, but this is nice to have. It's 80 minutes of reminiscences and things, so that's sort of historical. And there you have it. That is the Klemperer 95 disc instrumental music edition. Now, as you can tell, most of this, that is the non-operatic stuff, focuses on the German standard repertoire. And the fact is, until he got, too old to move, he was incomparable in the German standard repertoire. I mean, that was what he did. And I think it's wonderful that we have it, and it's good that this is back and at a decent price. And if you don't have Klemperer yet, this is your opportunity. Get it while you can, because it's been nicely remastered so far that I can tell. And the performances, some of them are absolutely outstanding and as great as anything that has ever been committed to disc. They are historical and musically rewarding, and you're not going to hear performances like this anymore from anybody, because they just don't do it like this anymore. Thanks to the period instrument people and all that stuff, we don't get to hear Klemperer. And that makes this all the more rewarding for those of us with open ears and tolerance. And if you've only heard period instrument, Beethoven and Mozart, you're in for a shock. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.